Hi, I'm Connie Sokol, a national speaker, best-selling author, program founder, and mother of 7, and loving it. I'm reaching and teaching 1 million listeners to live a purposeful, organized, and joyful life. You can too, so let's go.
Welcome back. We are doing our beautiful spotlights for the women that are going to teach you how to live your life purpose-filled, joyful, balanced, all the things with a side of healthy chocolate. So we today have Jenny Layton, and if you're wanting to get organized and feeling like I just can't take the clutter anymore, mentally, emotionally, physically, Jenny is here to give us the tips and tools. Hi, Jenny. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, thanks. It's so great to be here.
We are so happy to have you. I'm going to give you the official introduction, of course, and then we're going to share a little bit more of a personal introduction. Jenny Layton is a leading organization expert, mindset coach, and the creator of Life Organized podcast. Her signature systems and programs have helped thousands organize their lives, reducing clutter and overwhelm to make space for what matters most. Jenny's media appearances include KUTV's Fresh Living, KSL Studio 5, ABC's Good Things Utah, and Fox's The Place. She continues to speak and share her message in an effort to help people organize the life they love. You can learn more and receive free resources to organize your life at thehappygal.com. And on a personal note, we've known each other for a long time, and it's been so fun to watch each other's journeys, to be able to help women in different ways and different levels. And I'm very much about purpose driven. And I love that about what Jenny does, because her organization isn't just this and that and A plus B equals C. It's very purpose driven and it's very tailored to your own life. So let's talk about that for just a quick minute, because I know time is short. What is this connection between the state of the home and how women feel about themselves, their family life, and what it is that they do? What is this connection between those two?
So I have this saying that external clutter creates internal clutter. And for women, I can't explain it, but there is just this inseparable connection between the two. And I'm sure anybody listening can relate to this in some way, that just the state of the way that we manage things in our environment has a direct impact on how we feel inside. So when I say internal clutter, it's just those overwhelming feelings, those frustration, the disconnect, the procrastination. If you want to feel purpose-filled and clear and have vision and be able to execute, clearing your physical space seems to be one of those really important steps that you need to take. And so my work that I do with women is to help them clear their physical space in whatever way they need to, so that they can do what they feel so called to do. And I think that's one of the fun things about us, Connie, is that we both are aligned with that purpose of helping women do what they feel called to do.
And that's so fabulous, because that's a reality. On the daily, we may feel called to do something, but then we go, I don't know how I'm going to find the time, where I'm going to find it, how I'm going to get through the mess of what it is I'm doing today. And I know for myself, years and years ago, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Years ago, I remember thinking to myself, I've got to get my home life to a working 80%, because I'm a B pluser, but to a working 80% before I can really give some time and focused energy to something more, to this call to do something. So it was actually that feeling to be called to do something that gave me the impetus to say, I need to do this differently. So when you see that with women and say they feel called to do something, maybe it's serving in their community, or maybe it's pursuing a passion to help others through that passion, what is one of the first things that you encourage them to do in getting this organization and this sort of feel of, I need to get my life back under control?
There's a few ways I can answer that. And I know when I've spoken with some of your groups before, I've talked about home base, which is super important. And I would love to talk about that again if we have time today. But I do want to share just another perspective that I think is really important, especially when you have something you really want to make space for in your life. There's a difference between when you have that sense that I just need to get my life together and my act together. It's great. That's great motivation. But when you have something specifically that you are carving time out for, there's a way to look at how you manage your time that I think helps the pieces start to fit together, and you can understand the overall objective of what it is we're trying to do. So if it's okay, I've got this really great analogy I'd like to share.
Love it.
Okay. Whenever I'm talking about anything intangible, like time, for example, which is what we're about to talk about, I find that it's really helpful to talk about an example that's not tangible, that is tangible, right? So I compare organizing our time to organizing a pantry. And that's an analogy that works really well for me, obviously, because I do a lot of that. And I help women do that. But we all can kind of relate to what that's like to see a messy pantry and an organized pantry. So, Connie, I would just ask you, when you picture a messy pantry, what are some characteristics that you see in a messy pantry?
Oh, my kids' favorite snacks, wherever they put them, and cereal stuff all to the side, and bits on the shelves, and cans that used to be all beautifully aligned are now everywhere. And there's stuff that's in the floor that shouldn't be even there. And it's a catch-all.
Right. And I think, so I'm going to highlight two of the things that you just said, stuff that's in there that shouldn't be there. And then things that don't really have a space or a home. They just kind of get shoved in wherever there's space or wherever it's convenient, right?
Yes.
Okay, so those are two really important characteristics. So now the next question I'd ask is, what does an organized pantry look like?
Oh, I feel like, well, for me, I mean, I may be different than other people. I'm a B pluser. So I like knowing that things have their space. So I know where it's supposed to be. And generally speaking, it's there. And then there's also a little bit of like flair. There's a little bit of we've got our favorite ways of doing something, our favorite things. And it's not so structured that you feel like you can't take anything out, and it absolutely has to be in this like one spot. I like the idea that everything has its place, and then we can put it back and it's easy to keep clean. And there's also space and room for me to add in something new. Say I find something at the store and I want to buy a bunch of those. There's some space for something more. So that's for me.
Okay, good. Yeah, those are such great answers. And I mean, just to reiterate that, I think you said a place for everything, which women love, that idea of having a place for everything, but having a zone for things. So in an organized pantry, you know where you're going to find the baking supplies or where you're going to find the snack food. And then you just talked about having that space, that open space, if you need to bring something in, and that's kind of flexibility, right?
Yes.
But yeah, when things are filled too tight and then something new comes in, we don't have any place to put it. In an organized pantry, we have beautiful containers. They're holding a lot of packets of things, or chocolate chips, different kinds of things. And so we're able to use a pantry that's like that because we know right where to put things when we go grocery shopping, or when we're making dinner, we know where to find those things. Everything is predictable. That is such a beautiful analogy for what we want to do with our time. And I mean, to take it even a little further, I like to encourage women to look at their lives like a 7-shelf pantry. You have each day of the week as a shelf, and where in that pantry does a certain activity belong? So we have to take care of the external clutter that we have. Home base, in a nutshell, is a routine that helps you stay on top of your daily, most high impact clutter, like cockpit area, kitchen, family room, where you spend a lot of your time. That's a routine to help you take care of that every day. And I say home base belongs on the shelf every single day. But after we kind of get some of those daily routines down, then there's the question of, well, what about the laundry? And what about menu planning and making dinner? And what about, those things I have to get done for my family, that the action items I need to take, where does that fit in? And if we've organized our life like a 7-shelf pantry, then we have a spot for where laundry belongs. And what that means is that it doesn't get crammed in wherever there's an open space. And then that creates that chaos. And I think one of the most important things about that is, you'll probably, if you think about the snacks in your family's pantry right now that's crammed all over, they're probably taking up more space than they should. It's not in a very efficient use of that space. But if you can collect all of those things into a container that will hold snacks in one spot, what have you just done? You've just opened up space. And that's what I love to do with women, is help them contain what they need to do, those logistics that are just part of the equation. If we ignore them, they really create a lot of chaos and internal clutter. Let's collect those tasks into a container or a routine in our life, so that we are opening up space for what it is we really feel called to do. And it's a miracle, Connie. All I can say is just the clients that I work with, the students in my programs, as I watch them organize their life this way, just that freedom and confidence that they have to do those things that they love to do is just amazing. How getting your space and your tasks figured out just goes hand in hand with being able to accomplish and grow and give.
I love that. And that is so true. And then doing those things that you feel called to do gives you that energy to do the things that you're like, oh, laundry,
Right.
dishes. And actually, I'm not saying you're going to like sing songs and call woodland creatures, but I'm saying it actually does make it more enjoyable. I know that when I've carved out time to write or to do a podcast interview or to do those things, and I'm doing those things that I feel called to do, then I can also do the things I feel called to do with my family. And I feel like I've attended to both callings, to those things that my soul is asking me to gravitate to. I was just interviewing Adasa, who did Dolores on Encanto, and she was talking about this flow, this ease and flow in life, where they're going to the red carpet or singing at the Grammys or something, and then they're coming home and they're making muffins with their kids. But they've been able to separate out certain tasks and things that need to be done and done when. And that's what I think you are so genius in doing. Is I love when you said zones. I think the zones are so key of being able to say zones in our home and zones in our day. This is the time that I'm going to attend to me working out and me doing scripture and me doing those things that I can attend to. And then this is my time to attend to work. And this is my time to attend to being present with my family. I think that also translates in those two ways. So when you see and talk with women, you work with them and you have programs that you take them through, what's one of the most trouble spots that you see in their lives that they have the hardest time getting a handle on?
Well, logistically, a lot of women really struggle with paper.
Mm.
That's a type of clutter that's really difficult. I also see it's funny enough, menu planning and getting dinner on the table seems to be one that women really struggle with, because I think intuitively we know how important that time is, but having the energy and the ingredients and the plan at a good time when you've got the motivation to do it is hard. So we work a lot on menu planning. And then I think just the surface clutter, knowing how to keep up on, like I talked about, home base or that cockpit where that clutter really tends to collect. I think if we're talking about logistics in your space and kind of what you're responsible for, I would say those are probably the top three.
I love that. And I can see all of those. And I think too, there is an element and a level of making peace with those things. I remember one point just standing in the kitchen and realizing I'm going to be cooking for like 40 something more years. I mean, really, probably. And I thought, I've got to make peace with this. I've got to find a way to do this that is genuine and authentic for me, and that makes it so that it's efficient, because I find joy and efficiency. And I think I love that you help women try to find the methodology that works best for them. And so some people maybe like the actual creativity of certain processes, but a lot of women, I think, like the efficiency of it. I remember getting to a place where I started utilizing different tools, and I saved 26 hours a week. And I took that 26 hours and I started writing and speaking and doing things like that. So I love that you are teaching people tools to be able to say, you can use this time now, get this in a system, a rhythm. I put in the wash when I get them their breakfast, and I do this when I'm doing this, and you connect it to these other things. And you have a name for that. So tell us a little bit about that. The hook.
Right. Oh, yes. So I have a tool that I use called a habit hook. And it's exactly what you're talking about, how you just train your brain to associate two different tasks with each other. And it's easiest to do it if you've got one of those tasks as something that's already automatic and already a habit. So you're hooking a new habit into an existing habit. So if there's something new, if you can see that starting that load of laundry during the kids' breakfast would really make a difference, but you keep forgetting, then you just make that habit of every time I pour the cereal and put the box down, that's my trigger that sends me into the laundry room to just start that load of laundry. And it's really amazing when you start to look at the way the brain works and understand it, how you can use that for you. You can leverage the power of habit to be able to create those results that you want.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great tool for listeners to be considering. If there's a habit that you do well, consider what habit you're struggling with, and then hook it on together and see if that will make a difference. So for like me, okay, don't get the wrong idea, but my sweet little 10-year-old, I do bring up his breakfast on a tray every morning. And the reason why I do that during the week, I'll say little Lord Fauntleroy. But the reason why I do that is because he struggles with anxiety. And I know if the first 15 minutes when he wakes up, if I can get him in that traction of just going I'm locked and loaded for a great day, it takes care of a whole bunch of other things for the day. So I do that as a service for him, but I have connected with that. I'll bring him his tray, and then I will go into the laundry room and I'll throw in that wash. And so it's connected those two, and that keeps it consistent for me, and it makes it so it's a no-brainer. So I encourage listeners to consider, what is one habit that you do really well and one that you don't do well, and see if that will connect and make sense to connect it. Now, another thing that when you are working with women, there's some different signature things about your system that helps it to work even better. Can you share at least one of those with us, of what you do differently, that not just, I'm not like other organizers, but something that you do differently that really makes this gel, makes it work?
Yeah. Okay. So do you know what a Venn diagram is? If I
Oh yeah, seventh
Okay.
grade math, everybody get back to there, the circles in the middle one.
This is like the best way to describe it. Because I started my career out being a professional organizer. So I was in the home helping women with their space and organizing spaces, and recognized how vital that was. But for people to have long-term success, I had to pair it with some other things. And so by nature, I love time management. I study it. I feel like I've become an expert in time management, and to be able to help women maintain, not just clean up a space, but maintain the space, now crosses that line into productivity and how we manage our time. And so knowing how to help women get things done is so important. I know you all know what to do already, but it's when and how do I get it done? So that's the second circle I've kind of introduced into the happy gal in my company. Is I'm a professional organizer. I also do the time management piece. So you've got that overlap. And then the third piece that I think is just the linchpin in all of this is that I do mindset coaching. And that is so important because it's really easy to talk ourselves out of doing things because we feel guilty, or we think it's not possible, or we don't know how to look at it in a different way. And so we keep doing the same things, hoping to get different results. And what needs to shift there is the way that we're looking at it. And we just don't know how to do that. I mean, we don't. We have blind spots, just like when we drive, that you just can't see. You need someone shining a spotlight on what it is that you're missing. And then when you can see that, then it's really easy to shift and do that. And I mean, I've had calls all morning. I had an incredible call with someone yesterday who, just like the women that listen to this podcast, have really big goals. And it's been so amazing to just help them see that little shift. And they always say, how did I not see it that way before? And I said, because it's in your blind spot. And so it's a really unique service, I think, that I give, where I'm helping you manage your environment, know how to get things done, and then checking for those blind spots so you don't sabotage yourself and talk yourself right on out of doing the things that you know that you really do want to be doing.
Oh, and that is so true. And I don't know if you've seen this. I know studies bear it out, but there is such a link between the physical clutter and emotional clutter. And when you're feeling called to do something, sometimes we can do what you said, self-sabotage, and we actually increase clutter, or we're like making it so it's difficult for us to do the thing that we feel called to do because we're just feeling afraid and we don't really know how to move forward. But then there's that beauty of, once you clean off a counter, once you clean out a room, there is this feeling of clarity and possibility. And then you're able to move forward and step into that space in a much better way. Absolutely love this. If there's one tip and tool you want to leave with everybody before we kind of wrap up, is there any tip or tool or phrase that you feel like this is such a go-to, this is a great thing?
Yeah, you know what, I think it aligns with, you were saying you're kind of a B pluser. That's a philosophy that I teach a lot too. And I just say, done's better than perfect. So many of my clients come to me just feeling unsuccessful because they think it has to look a certain way. And so we really quickly work to shift that mindset of, nope, done's better than perfect, because done is fun. Perfect's impossible. It's this idea that you'll never really achieve it. And so if you can take into your work in your home, in your space, with your family, or even in this purpose that you have, this thing you feel called to do, just get it done. Don't worry about perfect, and it will be good enough. And, you know, your efforts will be magnified. You know, God will help you. Others will show up and make up that difference. But don't get tripped up in perfection. Just kind of coin that phrase, done is better than perfect. I think that'll serve listeners.
I love that. I was thinking of President Nelson that said, the Lord loves effort and effort brings rewards. And I think sometimes we can think organization, it's going to be this one day we're done and organized with everything and it stays that way. And in reality, it can feel a lot like organization whack-a-mole, where I got this organized, but now this room's messy, and now this entryway, and now I've got to do a meal, and it feels like it's never done. However, getting those rhythms into a rhythm, getting those routines into that rhythm and system, and it's working for you, actually does keep the house cleaner. It actually keeps you mentally clearer. I know one tip that's worked for us in our family, and this is just recently, it's not been always, we have older children now, it's clear it before you leave it. So we say clear the space. So when we're done with the blankets at night, we're all sitting on the couch and we're chatting, we're doing whatever. It's just quick fold the blankets and bring up the dishes and into the kitchen. That doesn't mean I'm doing the dishwasher right then either, but it means we're clearing that space. So the next day when we come in, it's clear, it's ready to be used. And I know that's been a huge thing. So those that are listening, I encourage you to think or even post below what's been an ism or like a phrase that helps you in staying organized, whether it's time or space, whatever it might be, just personally. Just put that below so we can learn from some of that wisdom. Jenny, thank you so much. People who are wanting to connect with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
I think if you find my podcast, it's on all the major platforms, Life Organized, and you might have to search with my name, Jenny Layton, because I'm new. So I think that's probably going to be the best place to learn more about what I do. I am on Instagram, JL the Happy Gal, and then my website's thehappygal.com. So all three of those places are great places to find me.
Wonderful. And you can check out her podcast, her programs, her boot camp, all the things that she does to help you get and stay organized so that you can live that purpose-filled life. Jenny, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So fun to see you. And if you love these, go back to other Tuesdays and you see it every Tuesday. We have a spotlight on either a detailed disciple thought leader or someone who's got other tips and tools and talents that they want to share that will help you move forward in your journey to live a purpose-filled life. See you next time.